So the Philippines has a very interesting Christian history, doesn't it?
It does. It is layers and layers of Christianity for over 600 years. And it starts off with the Age of Discovery. So we were one of the first countries in Asia where the Spanish and the Portuguese conquistadores came and said, well, we have discovered this place for the crown. And they brought the crown, the cross, as well as the sword.
The crown, the cross, and the sword.
Yes.
And that's carried through a Christian history that has led to the claim that the Philippines is one of the first Christian countries in Asia.
Well, it is, yes, it is it is the first predominantly Christian country in Asia. And there's only one other Christian country in Asia sorry, there's only one other country that is predominantly Christian, and that's Timor-Leste, which has just become a country very recently.
Very recently.
Yeah.
Uh,
So for a very long time, the Philippines had that title of the only Christian country in Asia.
at Christian pilgrimage, what we tend to do is pilgrimages to the Holy Land. And there's good reason for that. People want to visit the Holy Land for biblical reasons. Why should people visit the Philippines on pilgrimage?
The story of Christianity doesn't stop at the Holy Land. It doesn't stop in Europe. It continues. And the story of where Christianity moved to after Europe is this where you find the Philippines. Eventually you find that of course, you find that in Africa. But the Philippines is the first predominantly Christian country in the world is really worth saying to see what has happened in the different layers of history as different people from Europe and then eventually the United States came and brought their brand of Christianity. This kind of Christianity is also laid over, sorry, can I say it again? So this Christianity from Spain and from the United States, underneath all that is indigenous Filipino spirituality. You can imagine the different ways of these different kinds of understanding what is divine, what is profane, what is holy, and what is sacred. How does that come together? Um,
I remember a couple of years ago, I attended a sermon in New York, and the theologian was a Cherokee man from the indigenous American people, and he started off his sermon by saying, "Your ancestors didn't bring God here." And so there's an element, isn't there, of people believing that maybe the beliefs that existed before were less superior, were less important than the beliefs that exist now. Can you say a bit more about Filipino spirituality, indigenous spirituality?
Filipino indigenous spirituality is based on nature. It's pantheistic and it just like most Aboriginal spiritualities, is so grounded in what nature is, the rhythms of nature, and therefore, definitely, the ethics that go with how to preserve the environment so that people continue to thrive. Fertility was a very important aspect of that understanding of who we are as human beings vis-a-vis the world. We had to work with each other so that we preserve each other's relationships and the world, which keeps us alive.
And those are really relevant conversations now for the world in terms of environmentalism, in terms of the focus on the planet. Do you think that Filipino Christianity has some things to learn, perhaps, from its indigenous roots?
It already has. And in fact, I think it has shaped a lot of what is being talked about in Laudato Si, the papal encyclical on the environment. Laudato Si is a very strong movement in the Philippines because of this. Um, the other aspect of Filipino spirituality, which was able to surface out of the different layers of important Christianity, um, is a theology of struggle, is a theology that of resistance against what is being imposed on that, an understanding of what the world is. to try to define for themselves, for ourselves, who we are as Filipinos and who we are vis-a-vis our relationship with each other and vis-a-vis God. Um, this is part of the struggle of, and this is why I think the idea of a pearl of the Orient is important. A pearl has to grow in clear waters. You cannot grow a pearl in murky, polluted waters. It has to grow in very clear waters. And that pearl grows in a clam. And a clam doesn't look very nice. It doesn't look interesting. It's not pretty at all. But inside that clam is this beautiful pearl that is so much prized. That pearl doesn't grow by itself. You need to introduce something foreign into it. And this is part of the shaping of what Philippines is. We sing about it in our national anthem.
And that's such a beautiful metaphor for this pilgrimage. I think what we've done is pull together and worked with you, Sophia, to pull together a program that is tailored to very specific sites. It's not something that you've pulled that is pulled off the shelf. It's something that we've worked with you diligently and very hard to decide which sites to see and which sites to not see, and how to sorry, I will say that again. It's something we've worked very hard with you to decide which sites to take pilgrims to. And you were, of course, the person that coined the phrase "Pearl of the Orient," and you decided that that would be the right framing for this pilgrimage.
Yeah. Well, I did coin the phrase pearl variant. That comes from our national anthem, really.
Right, okay.
Yes, we sing it. It's in English. It is the land which we hold sacred, or the land which we honor. And then the next line is Pearl of the Orient, Pearl of the East.
Pearl of these.
Pearl of the East. But saying that Pearl of the Orient conveys an image of what the Philippines is. It is cherished. It's something very important to us, our country. And but it also has a history of irritation and of foreign intervention in that, which also makes it even more beautiful, I would think, for all of the struggles that we've faced there in that country. And of course, hopefully, we will be seeing some beautiful pearls that would be available for people to either just look at or to shop.
And what are some of the what are some of the top sites, the key locations that you think will be highlights or pilgrims on this group? I mean, there's a lot to choose from, right?
Yes, yes. We've designed the itineraries so that it starts off with a little bit of what Philippine history is in terms of its material material culture. So we look at the gold and how important gold is uh, as a means of trade, as a means of denoting importance in status and society, but also as a, a magnet for foreign intervention in a country. We have conquerors, we have colonizers who came for our rich mineral resources. So that was part of it's both a boon uh, and a burden,
Yes.
having this kind of wealth. So we're shaping it around an understanding of what the Philippines is in terms of its native wealth, in terms of its natural wealth, and how people worked with that, how culture came out of that natural wealth. Then we looked into the interactions between people in the Philippines, or what is now called the Philippines, with those who came in during the age of discovery, tried to conquer it, control all these wealths and the people who were there. And this is where we take the pilgrims to a place in Manila. It's the old quarter of Manila called Intramuros, which means inside the walls. This is like a fortification, Spanish fortification, which grew out of a very old Filipino, or what was then known as it's a it's a settlement that was run by a raja, like of a the leader of the, the leader of a big clan, of a big tribe. If the Spaniards hadn't arrived in the Philippines, when they arrived there, the Philippines would have been Muslim.
Wow. Okay.
Would have been Muslim, just like many other countries, like just like Indonesia and many other Malaysia and all of that. So if you look at that intramuros shows you how on top of Philippine society, the Spaniards came and put up a garrison. Apart from the garrison, they also put cathedrals, two major cathedrals, which we will visit. And there you could see in the cathedrals how European Filipino Christianity is.
And that comes through, I presume, in the architecture and through even, does that also translate into some elements of liturgy as well?
So, no, let me see. The liturgy and okay, definitely. I'm going to read again. What we will see will be architecture.
Yes.
We hope to be part of services. We hope to be part of prayer, days of prayer and hours of prayer. With especially in a place called Baclaran. Baclaran is a market area where the church dedicated to the Lady of Perpetual Help is. And every Wednesday, people go there to pray to this miraculous statue of perpetual help. And this is a kind of piety where you will see the mixture of Spanish Catholicism and Filipino piety, as well as there are other places, especially the church in Quiapo, where on Sundays you will see around the church vendors selling things which appear to be of the church.
Yes.
Candles and medals, and also amulets
Right.
and secret potions.
And is some of that being carried over from some of those indigenous beliefs?
Yes. So it's a thing. I would call the Philippines a multiverse, where all of these things happen at the same time. Things which happening today, and things which happened long time ago, which continue to happen now. There's one layer after another. Um, I would say it's also a multiverse because we're so high tech. If you wanted, for example, to hack the Pentagon, you go and look for a Filipino IT nerd, and that will happen because that has happened. That Filipino nerd created the love bug and broke into the Pentagon.
Wow.
Yeah, but for all of this being high tech, you have the streets are not at all logical. There are a lot of things which are not logical in the Philippines, which are not straightforward, which are covered with a lot of secrecy and mysticism, and so this is
I'm sensing smell and taste and culture and history, and there's a few different layers to this trip. Could you talk a little bit about food and culture?
oh my goodness, you are asking me. You are making me miss my rice cakes. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I go to the stores, I guess, and finally there was an Asian store that opened next to where we live now.
Right.
Oh my goodness, all of these rice cakes wrapped in banana leaves, they're they're special rice. We have rice is a very important part of Filipino culture, and the whole culture around rice was developed in the Philippines. So those rice cakes aren't just things that you eat,
Right.
but these are stories of people and the different varieties of rice
Right.
that has been planted there through the years. And of course, rice itself as a story. In the 1970s, rice, the Green Revolution started, and a lot of the native varieties were not used. People were discouraged from using that. However, a lot of these rice cakes still maintain these old varieties of rice, green rice. There's a special rice called pinipink, and it's you don't find that. You don't find that easily. There's a special way of making these rice cakes out of special kinds of rice, which will work if you just use rice which you get from the supermarket.
That's really interesting to think about rice in different color variations because we often think about brown rice and white rice, but they're saying in the Philippines there's variety of
Yeah, there'll be black rice and purple rice.
rice.
Yeah, so it's very rich variety, and we're trying to preserve that, the variety, the diversity of our food. We here potatoes, we have, like fine, you have white potatoes, or sometimes they're in brown skin or in purple skin. We have lots of yam, different kinds of yam.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite ice cream flavors is called ube.
Ube.
Yeah, so it's purple yam.
Right.
And I grew up, that was a special ice cream for my grandparents and parents only. So as children, we were allowed to have this special ube ice cream. So now I'm older, I can have my special ube ice cream.
I think we'll all be looking forward to some ube ice cream.
Yeah. We also have a dessert called halo halo.
Halo halo.
Halo halo mixture, a mixture. So it's in a parfait. This is, again, a mixture of American parfait glass,
Okay.
where you put beans and gelatin and a, an ingredient called nata de coco, which comes out of a coconut plant.
Wow.
I can't
Sounds very
explain to you. Yeah, and crushed ice and a little piece of custard, which is Spanish, leche flan. You put it on top of that. No, sorry, you have the ice, and then you have ube ice cream, and on top of ube ice cream, you have the custard. And that's the whole how getting it.
And then
each little long spoon.
you're getting the different layers there of the Filipino flavors, but also the European flavors, and that's almost a metaphor for the colonization itself and the steps in which that took place.
Yes, that's right.
How are Filipino theologians contending with the environment, and in terms of environmental theology at the moment? Will that be a theme that people will experience?
I think what more that it's not so much the environment that there will be theologians interested in working in the environment. Right now, the kind of theology that's being developed is really the theology of justice,
First justice.
for justice,
Right.
and we have well, you have scripture quoted left and right
Right.
everywhere in the Philippines.
Yeah.
You have you could have big billboards during election periods where you say this is the chosen son of God or something like that. Wow, for a certain for a certain position in government. The we have a Senate where the speeches are like sermons, the way scripture is just put in there. And as these speeches in the House of Representatives or the Senate would come out, you would have a critique from a theological point of view from a journalist who knows theology very well,
Right.
I'd say. Or of course you can get it from a theologian who could very easily critique what does it really mean when a person says, quotes Bible scripture. Is it really what this is what the Bible is saying? This would be what he say and what his life is about. So the use of culture, the use of theology in politics is rife, but there is also a corresponding strength and fluency in the way it is being criticized. So there's a conversation between the theology of power as well as the theology of people from below.
And that's going to be quite the experience, I think, for Australian pilgrims coming into the Philippines, because although Australia has some Christian roots, there you don't get that element of theology and politics mixing in Australia as much as you would in the Philippines. It sounds like.
Yes. Well, that is so, but I hope that this pilgrimage, just like a pearl, will encourage people to think about what is it's happening in Australia from a point of view that is more sensitive to um, to what's happening to the welfare of other Australians.
Yes.
Many people, of migrants, of refugees, of uh, people who are experiencing homelessness, for example. What does that mean? Um, we we could be many of us could be very privileged, could lead very privileged lives, but even in that privilege, also realize what their role is as Christians,
Yes.
or as people of goodwill.
What do you think makes a pilgrimage different to a, let's say, a tourist program, or a usual visit? What is it? What are some of those features that will make this a pilgrimage as opposed to just a visit to the Philippines?
That's a real good question, because from the beginning, from my earliest times from the times as a young adult, I've always wanted to show the Philippines from the point of view of who the people are, as well as who the visitors are, in terms of what they know of each other, and in terms of what they know about God, and what is calling them to be. Pilgrimage is really a journey towards something which you don't really know what it is.
It's a journey.
It's a journey. It's a journey. You think you're going to a destination, but sometimes the destination is elsewhere. And this is what I think this trip to the Philippines would be. I've shown people around my own country and have been converted. I've shown people to places where I've experienced people, I've met people who have helped me understand my faith
Yes.
in a way which I never understood. And these are people who were just there all along. And that transformative experience, I think, makes a pilgrimage different from an ordinary tour.
It's a spiritual experience, isn't it? Not just a travel experience, but it's an experience in which people have an opportunity to connect with God and to connect with each other
And connect with yourself.
and connect with yourself.
Yeah. So the search for the pearl of great price.
The pearl of great price.
Yes. So as we travel to the pearl of the Orient, my hope in this pilgrimage is that we will continue searching for that pearl of great price, which, Jesus talks about in the Bible. What is that pearl? Where do we find that? And as we walk through that, through the days of the pilgrimage, this could be a theme that we will be following.
You, as the spiritual leader on this pilgrimage, will be setting a lot of the liturgy. You'll be setting some of the scripture that we'll be reading, and you'll be leading us through some of the hymns in the morning. Um, what will shape your approach when you're doing that?
The theme itself,
The thing.
the theme itself of pilgrimage and that search for pearl of great price would be uh, an overarching theme. Part of that would, of course, is say, where is this? What about Australia?
Yeah.
Where do you come from?
Yeah.
Where are you coming from? Where are we now? And where are we going?
Yes.
So that whole idea of movement from where we are now, where we are going, not only in terms of physical space, but also in terms of a spiritual geography.
Yes.
Have you moved? What is it that you understood the Philippines to be, or before you came? How is it that you understood God to be before you came? What is it that you understand yourself to be now? So it's really a conversation with yourself, with God, and the people you're with, and people you experience. And I hope that this pilgrimage would also provide people an opportunity to meet Filipinos who would share their own faith journeys, and maybe have conversations, meaningful conversations about each other's faith journey. This could be quite threatening, I can imagine, to people who aren't used to talking about faith journeys. But I hope that the quiet times, times of prayer, and at times of perhaps learning simple Filipino songs that have to do with travel and journey in the Philippines might help people get into that experience of get to experience a little bit of Filipino spirituality for themselves and see how that might enrich their own spirituality. One of the things which I'm really interested in in doing this pilgrimage is the opportunity to do intercultural and interspiritual, if you like, an intercultural conversation about faith, about religion, yeah, faith, religion as well as culture, and see how that works together. Um,
That will be such an interesting thing to explore from an Australian perspective, because Australia obviously a multicultural nation in its own right. And then coming into a Filipino context, there's a bit of multiculturalism there in terms of the Philippines' own history. So I think that conversation about faith and faith journeys will be one that people will reflect on. Sophia, is there anything else that you'd like to add or you'd like people to know?
I would like people to know how beautiful our beaches are. And seriously, apart from the food and the beaches and the we will be there in February. As we will be starting, that will be the beginning of Lent. We will be there at the beginning of Lent.
Right.
So this would also provide us a good time to have a little bit of knowledge of what that would mean for Filipinos to start Lent. But definitely, this is a time. Lent is a time when people start thinking, "Oh, it's time to have a holiday. It's time to go to the beach. It's time to enjoy ourselves." This is Filipino spirituality, where enjoying yourself as well as uh, doing your penance could be the same.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Reverend Sophia Lizares from the Uniting Church, spiritual leader of the Philippines February 2027 pilgrimage with Christian Pilgrimage. Thank you so much for this conversation. I will be looking forward to joining the pilgrimage, I hope, as well with you. So there are many people I've spoken to already that are really looking forward to it. So we will pray for a successful, a happy, and a fulfilling pilgrimage next year.
Thank you, John. Thank you for this opportunity to share a little bit about my country and my spirituality.